What's up, comic book fans, and welcome to Comics Icons. Now, JJ, what they call me, and today we've got the first of a new 8-part series called Ghost Rider: Final Vengeance. And what makes this one interesting is from the point of view of the spirit of vengeance, and its time with Johnny Blaze has run its course. This spirit needs to find a new, less reluctant host to carry out its will. So if you guys are ready to see how Johnny Blaze's run as Ghost Rider finally comes to an end and to see who'll take his place, then you guys know what time it is. Let's get it. So this series kicks off with the spirit of vengeance himself, Zarathos, who waits in the darkness until each time comes to punish. He is the lava churning beneath the mountain and the spider waiting in the web. And over the eons, he's found many forms of vengeance, and Johnny Blaze is merely the latest. But it was Mephisto that filled Johnny Blaze with Zarathos' fire, and it was Mephisto that drew Johnny Blaze here to this tunnel in the Black Hills of South Dakota right now. And although some people go into this tunnel and don't come out, Johnny isn't afraid to join them. Not just because he wants to help, but because he doesn't care what happens to him at this point. It seems quite obvious at this point that Johnny is ready for things to end, or at least to be able to gain full control. He's caused way too much hurt for way too long. And right now, Zarathos understands Johnny. He understands him in the same way that Johnny understands a motorcycle. This spirit of vengeance has been with Johnny for years, riding his heart and gripping his collarbone like a Harley Knight train. So he's able to feel Blaze's intentions, with each direction veered on Blaze's bike. But Zarathos makes note that he follows Mephisto in the same way that Johnny follows the spirit and the bike follows Johnny. So Zarathos knows that there's a reason that they've been led here. And in that moment, Mephisto commands Zarathos to move on, to find a new vehicle that doesn't resist. Someone whose veins will run cleanly with sulfurous oil and hellfire. So the spirit of vengeance detaches itself from Johnny Blaze, leaving him alone in that tunnel that most don't come out of. Because it's time to kill the engine of Johnny Blaze, as Blaze is now face to face with a gigantic spider without the rider there to protect him any longer. Then we transition to a random gas station in a movie theater as the spirit of vengeance searches for a new host, one that jails more with motives of vengeance and less with being a hero, as this spirit flows in and out of everyone in attendance at this theater and this gas station, moving through bodies like bodies move through rooms. A door closes and Zarathos is in a new place. But this time is different from the times before, and this time the spirit feels lost, as we notice that all the people in this theater have absolutely no idea what just happened to them. Even the dog in the car just experienced it. I am everywhere and I am nowhere, the spirit acknowledges. I am everyone, and I am no one. As we even see a stripper on the pole become the spirit of vengeance for a hot second. Sheesh. Where there is danger, or anger, or fear, or unrest, as the spirit transfers from a shark to a surfer to sumos on a plane. And that plane is sick, by the way. Fly in on Ghost Plane. But make sure you stay away from those waters of Ghost Shark. Or in a desperation, I am there, as we then meet a woman named Lisa, who's a widow with 2 kids, and she just looks absolutely wrecked after a double shift and barely any sleep, and her home is a wreck as well. And the kids' grandmother is there at the house, and she's just giving Lisa a hard time about being unfit, and that she's contacted a lawyer about gaining custody of her grandchildren. As this devious ass old lady sneaks some pills out of her bag and hides them in Lisa's home before she leaves out. Then tells Lisa that her son would be ashamed of what's happened since he's left. But Lisa corrects this old lady that he didn't leave, he OD'd. And as Lisa curses out this old ass hag, the hag tells Lisa that she's been recording this entire thing. The living conditions, the conversations, everything. And then the hag pulls off, leaving a pissed off Lisa to tend to her 2 children, who are now both crying hysterically. And after not very long, Lisa can't take it anymore and absolutely just loses it. And as she snaps, she's met with the spirit of vengeance, who comes in through her chimney and is absorbing right into Lisa, as Zarathos acknowledges, most of her money goes toward daycare. Most of her time is spent waiting tables and cleaning hotel rooms. All of her love and the last few dribbles of her energy is spent on her kids to try to take them away as an act of war. And as the kids now cry for mommy to get up, mommy gets up, but with a flaming skull, and the kids straight up freak. Like, oh my God, mommy, I'll stop. I promise I'll stop. And of course, the old ass hag is already heading back with a child services agent, telling this agent that she noticed the pills earlier. And they walk into the house and see this flaming headed Lisa, and they very likely crap every inch of themselves. But grandma goes inside and calls for the children to come and leave this monster forever. And as the older daughter carries her younger brother in the direction of grandma, grandma tells them to wait for her in her car. But the daughter then closes the door, and now grandma's like, what the hell are you doing? And then Shorty straight up locks the door and says, we want to stay with mommy. She'd do anything to protect us. And now this old ass hag gets straight up roasted. That little psycho ass accessory. Ain't it cute? But then the spirit of vengeance leaves this host and travels to the realms of the gods. And there's a dungeon deep beneath Asgard. Under lock and key rests a tomb, and in it lies the body of Skirmir, the frost giant, locked away in case his head should ever grow back again, as the spirit of vengeance takes over his body, as his hate for the gods knew no bounds, festering even in his death. So Zarathos tapped into this, and together this frost giant and the spirit of vengeance sought out Thor and all of his kin. But the wrath of hell could not compete with the fury of a god. And the hammer of Thor knocked the spirit of vengeance loose once more until it found another eager vessel. Thor smited thine evil spirit from that vessel. But it's at a data center in New York City that the spirit finds its next vessel, in the form of Danger, the mutated former X-Men Danger Room that spent her life living in the shadow of the X-Men. Sometimes she felt an almost maternal love for them, and other times, a child's spite. But now that Orcus has murdered and exiled her mutants, she feels a different sort of discontent. Whether she adored or hated them, the mutants were hers. And she would punish the humans by infecting them with the malware poisoned with the demonic code, as the devices the humans spent so much time staring at stared back, with a damnation gaze. As possession takes many forms, binary code is the latest translation of ciphers written in chalk, blood, or bone. As we can see some people straight up leaping out of their windows from being possessed. But this isn't what Mephisto wants, the spirit claims. As we then transition to a few 100,000 miles from Earth, as the spirit finds itself on a freighter, as miners drilled into an asteroid that was a brood hive. And as a hive, they are supposed to want, as a whole, the same thing by definition. But in every group, there is an inevitable anomaly, and this one brood defends one of the crew, for reasons it doesn't fully understand, as love is not a part of their language. But the autopilot on the freighter was already engaged when the brood exploded out of the cargo hold, so the freighter will land on Earth, and the brood will descend on humanity like a biblical plague. Except now one of their own stands in their way, as the lone brood to save the lady now gets the spirit. Then we see as this spirit moves all over the world, it questions, who will be my next host? Where's my best opportunity for vengeance? How can I hunt? What war can I claim as my own? As we're then taken to Chicago, as the spirit begins to feel something like a shift in pressure or a deepening of gravity. After so many strobe-like flashes of hellfire, so many punishing glimpses inside the hollows of other skulls, the spirit knows now where to go. A kindred soul who has no concerns about innocence, no sense of moral compass, no compunction about the slaughtering harvest to come. I have at last found my new host. In the Hood. As we can see that Parker Robbins, also known as the Hood, is now the new Ghost Rider. And that design looks sick. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of this issue. So what did y'all think about this issue and the start of this new Ghost Rider series, huh? How do you think this thing will play out? And what do you think happened to Johnny Blaze? Do you think he survived? I personally would guess that he did, since we never did see a body, but I thought this was a good start to what seems like is going to be a really interesting series. And I wonder if we find out later what happened with that one mom, Lisa, that it had the spirit and took out that evil granny. Or that brood freighter. They kind of just left that one out there for us. But you guys let me know which version of Ghost Rider is your favorite. And as always, if you guys enjoyed this video and this channel, and you'd like to support the channel, then you could do so by joining the Iconic Fan Club channel membership. And I'll make sure that there's a link to join in the description. But with your membership, you'll gain access to weekly interactive live streams with yours truly. And we can talk about everything that's been going down in these issues, as well as previews of other stuff that we'll be going over later on this channel, or stuff that you'd like for me to go over later on this channel. And other comic book news as well. Plus, you guys will get loyalty badges, member shoutouts, and more in these videos. Or you guys could donate to the channel with a super thanks. And if you're not able to do any of these, then you could still be a huge help to the future of this channel by dropping a like, share, and subscribing to Comics Icons for more icons in the comic book world. But ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time. I'm out.